I heard that you're tired of renting, you're tired of your slumlord, or it's just time for a change. Maybe you're expanding your family, you're moving up in the world, or you're tired of just having a landlord. If that's true, keep on watching. Thank you so much for tuning in to Shanae's Law. Today we're going to talk about the 9th installment of our Millennial Success Bylaws series. So just like the title reads, if it's time for you to do something amazing and start a new task, then just stay tuned. Thus far, we have talked about saving money. We've mastered our budgeting. We've learned how to get out of debt. We discussed what credit is, how to get credit. We talked about credit cards, increasing and protecting our credit scores. We talked about how to get a loan. We just learned about how to get a car. And today, we're going to be discussing buying a house. Okay? Can you see the lineup? We've come a long way. Now we're talking about buying a house. Now this is the thing. Buying a house is such a big achievement and accomplishment, and it can't be taken lightly. So with that being said, all the research that I've done, I had to go back and kind of see what was still relevant when I bought a house 5 years ago as opposed to what's relevant right here on December 2018. And I realized that this was a lot of information. So this is actually going to be broken down into 3 parts for our 9th Millennial Success Bylaws. So buying a house is going to be 3 videos. I'm going to break it down in a way that you can understand. It's not going to take up too much time. You can watch it in different installments and get a really good gist of how serious this is, okay? Again, buying a house is a really big achievement, but it's also a commitment. A huge commitment that you only really want to buy a house when you are ready to settle down and you don't plan on moving for a very long time, i.e. 5 to 7 years or so. Now, if your lifestyle requires a lot of travel, flexibility, mobility, frequent moves, or if you move a lot for your job, then it might be best to rent as opposed to buying a home. You don't want to have to keep uprooting yourself, uprooting your finances, and going through all of that drama. So if you move a lot, if you fall into any of those categories, you know your life better than anybody. If it's not for you, that's fine. It's just not for you. However, if you are about to take that big step, you've settled down, things are looking like you're going to stick around, then keep watching this video because we're going to go in. Only buy the house when you are ready and you can afford it. When you can afford it now and you can afford it later. Don't just bite off more than you can chew. You got to stay within budget and stay within region. Know what you want. The first thing that you should consider is location. You want to know the city, the state, the county, the neighborhood, the community. You want to have a good idea of all of that before you go any further. You want to know what it is that you want and where you want to be. You also want to consider the type of home. Do you want a single home standalone? Do you want a townhouse? Do you want a condo? This is also a good determining factor if you want to do yard and gardening work or not. Or if you'd rather be in a community or a situation where a staff takes care of that. If you don't have a green thumb and don't want to learn how to get a green thumb, then that's also going to be one of the determining factors as to where you go and where you move. Qualities and amenities. How many bedrooms, bathrooms, closet space, garage, driveway, additional parking for company, yard space, which is really important if you have children or any small pets. You want to know how well the homes on the block are maintained. You also want to consider the traffic. Is it a busy area? Again, because if you got small kids and you have pets, this is something that you want to consider. Are the streets really busy? What times of the day are they really busy? Because you also want to consider the proximity to work, school, doctor's appointments, charities, hospitals, or any other places that you may frequent or may need to have accessibility to quite easily without any type of hindrance. You also want to study the market and see how it impacts your wants and needs. Look for houses that are also resellable in case you have to move. But most importantly, start your research early. Start your research early. You can never start saving your money too soon, and you can never research what you want too soon. Figure that out and figure out where those areas that have the things that you do want. You also want to go ahead and see, once you figure out where you want to be, how many registered sex offenders in the area, any pedophiles, what's the crime rate like? Do they have a lot of robberies? You really want to know what's going on in this area. You just can't just go on a whim and move somewhere without knowing the background of that place. Have all of that already in the works before you even move on to number two. Number two is stick to a configured budget. You want to start off by knowing what your credit score is, and you want to have a strong and healthy credit score. Know what those credit reports look like. Make sure that they are still healthy and maintained. Remember, we discussed this in part 4, 5, and 6, all about getting the credit, building the credit, and maintaining the credit. So make sure all of that is still intact before you try to tackle a monster of being a homeowner. Savings are very crucial when purchasing a home. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It could take you years. As long as you are getting that money together to put on that down payment, that's all that matters. Don't worry about any negative things that other people may say, or don't even let your own self put you down and feel like you're never going to get it. Save that money. We discussed saving money in part 1. This goes into that, and you want to save and prepare financial backing for more than just the ideal purchase of the home. A reasonable size down payment is 20%. To save at least 20% of the ideal purchased home and all the extra finances that are going to occur when you do buy that home. The down payment could be small as 10%. However, if you save 20% towards this down payment, it would allow you to not pay an extra cost added onto the monthly mortgage called a PMI, which is a private mortgage insurance fee. And that insurance fee does not go towards paying off the principal balance of your mortgage. So if you can save 20% and put that down for a down payment, do it. 10% is also acceptable in some cases, depending on the type of loan that you get. But you want to kind of avoid that private mortgage interest fee if you can, because that's extra money you could be going into fixing on your house, getting things repaired, simply making add-ons. Now, your FHA mortgage loans, which are backed by the government, they generally require 3.5% down payment circa 2018. Remember, these things are always subject to change, so keep looking them up. Definitely keep these videos inside of your playlist when it's time to buy this house, but always make sure that the rules haven't changed when it's time for you to engage in that. The purchase of the home is also going to be affiliated with home insurance costs, homeowners association fees, real estate taxes, moving expenses, utility installments, and closing costs. So don't forget, you're buying the house, but you still have to get insurance. You have to pay closing fees. You got to move into the house. And you got to have people to help you do that. So if you don't have friends and family that are reliable, you're going to have to hire U-Haul, 2 men in the truck. And if you're moving out of state, that's a whole different ballgame, because friends and family are not always going to be able to move you out of state. Then you'll definitely have to lean on a company. If you're moving for your job, sometimes they will pay for you to move. And they'll also pay for all of the costs that are included in for you to move as well. So check into that if you're moving for a job. And you also want to go ahead and establish a price range that is ideal with your current income and your savings. That'll help you stay within budget and not go crazy getting big expenditures and things that you cannot afford. Which is why you want to also get pre-approved or pre-qualified for a home mortgage loan through a reputable creditor or lender, i.e., could be an institutional bank, could be a credit union, just to get an idea of what you can afford. So you can get approved. Let's say you get approved for $500,000, just like we talked about in our buying a car. Just because you get approved for $500 doesn't mean you need all of that. And if you do decide to use it out to the max, it should be only for expenses related to buying a home. If you have to get things fixed around the house, plumbing fees, electrician fees, it should definitely be going towards the cost of the home, to better the home, to increase the value of the home for you over time. You also want to make sure that any previous debt is paid off, or all of those balances are really low on any current debt, credit cards, or open credits that you do have. Try to pay everything down as much as possible to be extremely low or non-existent before taking on more debt. Savings should include funding for home improvements and maintenance. So again, you're saving for more than just the home. You're saving for the maintenance and the lifestyle of the home once you get it. You also need to make sure that you have a steady income rolling in as you take on this new venture. So make sure that you're good standing with your job, or that you have multiple sources of income rolling in. Do not buy this house if things are shaky at the job. don't do it, especially if you're buying this house alone. And if you're not, you still don't want to put that burden on your partner or your spouse or whoever you're buying a home with. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. You also want to research your mortgage options. You want to weigh a 15-year versus a 30-year mortgage. Evaluate the pros and cons. For instance, 15-year mortgage is going to have higher monthly premiums, but you'll pay it off faster, and you'll also pay less interest than the standard 30-year, where you pay more interest and it takes a longer time for you to pay it off, but you do have lower premiums. You also want to be mindful of the interest rate of the mortgage. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. Remember, the ball is in your court. The higher the credit score that you have, the more negotiating power that you have. And you also have the options of choosing the best loan that they're going to offer you. Don't overestimate possible mortgage rate deductions and be tempted to buy a more expensive home. So basically, that just means don't think because you are eligible for possible tax deductions that you can afford to buy more house. Stick to the rivers and the lakes that you are used to, okay? Let the waterfalls just stay wherever they're at. Do not bite off more than you can chew. Especially if this is your first house. You don't want to be doing all of that anyway. But you do want to go ahead and create an emergency fund to pay up for 3 to 6 months for expenses and unexpected occurrences. Use it as a safety net. Because again, anything can happen. If you have 3 to 6 months of savings in an emergency fund set aside versus just the savings that you have for the new home and the moving expenses of moving, you should be okay. 3 to 6 months is good enough time for you to figure things out, move money around, ask friends and family for a little help, or even find a job. But you definitely want to give yourself a little breathing room, worst case scenario. Ideally, 40% of your take-home pay should be used towards making debt payments. So if you can take on debt, only 40% of your net pay should be going towards the new debt that you take on, meaning your new mortgage. If your mortgage is going to be more than half of what you make, then you're just doing too much. You're doing too much and you need to slow down. Do not have these payments to a point where you're not eating, but you're keeping your bills paid. You need to be able to eat, pay your bills, and have a roof over your head comfortably. Okay? Stay within budget. You can also utilize an affordability calculator to monitor your budget and ensure that you are only buying a house that you can afford. And last but not least, most importantly, if this is your first home, just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Do not be out here buying things that you can't afford, living outside of your means. This is your first home. It's going to be a learning experience. Your first home doesn't have to necessarily be your last home. Things change, people grow, life goes on. All right? Number 3, research the home buying process. Acknowledge the full commitment that buying a home can really be, and be patient. Things do not happen overnight. Be familiar with the itemization tables and the components of the itemization table, i.e. the principal payments, the interest rates, is the interest compounded, is it monthly, is it a fixed rate? Be familiar with all of those key components on the itemization table before you move it forward as well, because this is going to affect how much you save versus how much you need. And be mindful that a fixed rate is the best option for mortgages. Fixed rates mean they don't change, regardless of circumstances, regardless of the economy. A recession hits, your fixed rate is your fixed rate. That's what the contract said. That's what you're obligated to pay. You also have the option when you buy your house to buy it alone, or you can find you a legitimate realtor to assist you in buying a home. If you do get your realtor to help you buy this house, hold them accountable. It's their job to make sure that all your wants and needs are met within reason and within budget. If you are listing a realtor, ensure that they are not fraudulent. You also want to go ahead and interview some realtors. Get some lined up and ask them the hard questions. In most situations, the realtor's fees are going to be paid by the seller and not the buyer. So don't let nobody take advantage of you. You interview them, you pick who you like, and you make sure nobody's giving you any lies. Research, research, research. You also want to take on avoiding a huge remodel job of a new home if you are not capable of handling it. Again, if this is your first home and you really don't know anything about home maintenance, home repair, you're not good at plumbing, electrical work, you're not good at some of these things, Get you a nice, simple house that doesn't require a lot of work. It's just that simple. Don't get you a house that needs to be on TV getting flipped, okay? Don't get you one of those. Get you something nice and simple that you can work on in sections. Do your homework. Research the market and how it impacts your buying decision. You also want to set realistic expectations for what you want versus what you can afford. And a nice compromise is what you want and what you can afford. So you definitely want to aim for that. Moving on. Number 4, stay organized. We've talked about this throughout the whole series thus far, but anytime again you are taking on a big expenditure, like even buying a car, you want to keep all of your paperwork together throughout this process. Remember to attend all important meetings and house viewings despite rain. You definitely want to go see that house in the rain. It's going to let you know if that roof is leaking or not. Be cognizant of all credit checks that are being made. So this will be a great time to go ahead and join LifeLock and Credit Karma if you have not. You need to be monitoring who's looking at your credit, how often, is it hard increase, is it soft increase. Nobody should be getting your social security number and doing any credit checks on you if they are not the creditor or the lender that's about to give you this home mortgage loan. Don't be giving people all your information all willy-nilly and you don't know nothing about them. Do not be a victim. So also when you are getting pre-approved for the mortgage, the lender is going to ask you for a couple of years of tax returns, 2 years of bank statements, and at least a month's worth of pay stubs. This happened to me too. So have those readily available, or just be prepared that down the road, once this is going to happen, they're going to ask for these items. Just a quick fun fact. If you can't find all of your tax returns, if HR Block is giving you issues like that gave yours truly, you can go down to your local IRS department or office and sit down with somebody, explain how I'm trying to buy a house, I need tax statements. They'll help you out with that as well. You also want to keep tracks of all the quotes from the lenders you are interested in, as well as the rest of the people who you have selected as a part of buying your dream house, which we're going to call the Dream Team. The Dream Team is going to be very vital. If you don't have any idea what the Dream Team is, you definitely need to go ahead and watch part 2, because this is the end of part 1. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this is the 9th installment of our Millennial Success Bylaws series. We're going to go on to part 2 of this 9th bylaw and part 3. Keep these videos together. Make sure you watch all of them. And until then, I'll see you guys later.